Before we get started in the meat of the training of this series, I wanted to take a little bit of time, and I won't take very much time, to show you some shortcuts and some information that will be valuable to you if you don't already know it. And I don't mean to do this video for, to put down your intelligence of any kind, but there may be those out there who do not know what I'm about to teach you, and so it may be valuable for some people. If you find this to be completely ridiculously what's the word, talking down to you because you already know all this information, well, that's fine. You can go on to the next video. It doesn't make any difference. But for those who might want to learn something about this, then they can continue on. One of the things I've found as I've been going through my life as a computer programmer and as a genealogist, and typing a lot of stuff, I found some short key shortcuts that I can use that help so that I don't have to waste a lot of time. Now, a lot of people are concerned about carpal tunnel syndrome, and when they use the mouse, it hurts their wrist and all that kind of stuff. So there are keystrokes that we can use throughout doing our genealogy research that will help, and these same shortcuts will help you in just about any Windows application there is. So if you know how to do these shortcuts, it'll help you out into that. So again, I'm going to just go over a few of these keystroke helpful things and a couple other things at the end. So just bear with me, okay? The first thing I want to do is go into the shortcut keys that you'll need a lot, and it will help you a lot. And so let's go to a real live example, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first shortcut we're going to learn is about copy and paste. Okay, you're going to use copy and paste forever in every application. It just becomes an important thing that you need to learn. One of the main reasons why we use copy and paste here, at least in the genealogy part, is because we've typed in a lot of information in our notes section, and we don't want to have to retype all that. Okay, but we do want to transfer this information from our research database to familysearch.org, and we'll talk about the reasons why we do all that later, but we want to be able to do that. Now, we can do this a lot of different ways, but the easiest way to do it is to highlight the part that we want to copy. Now, the way you do this, if you don't know, and again, I'm not trying to play down to you, but if you don't know, you hold down the left mouse button and you drag your cursor all the way from the bottom to the top of everything that you want to copy. Okay? Now, you can do the same thing with going from the top to the bottom, so it doesn't really matter as long as you get it all highlighted like that. When you have what you want highlighted, then you need to copy it. Now, the way Windows works is to copy something, you can do you can click on edit and go down to copy, or you can use the shortcut key, which is Control key plus C. Okay? Now, the way that works is you hold down the Control key and you hit the C button, the C letter, and then you let them both go. Now, this isn't press and hold this Control button really hard, long time, and then hit the C button a long time. It's like a one continual motion. Hold down the Control key, hit C, and you're done. Okay? Now, what that does is it takes the portion of what you have highlighted and copies that to the Windows clipboard, which is a place that Windows keeps space for so that you can move stuff around. Okay, you don't know that it happened. You can't see that it happened. You just have to trust that it does. Okay, so that's how you do the copy. When you go to the place where you want to put the information, okay, then you do the same keystroke. You hold down the key, the control key, and you hit P. Okay, that didn't work right. Oh, I'm not P. V. Okay. So there you go. So now all the information that you had over there is now in here. Okay. Now, do you have to copy that big amount? Well, no, you don't. Let's take, for instance, this one. You just have to copy what it is. So you hit the control and tap the C, okay? And then you go back over here, hit the control key, hit V. There you go. Now, see, that makes it a lot easier. It's not so you don't have to retype everything. And I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. We'll get into all of this later. But I thought I would do this while I'm here, so I don't have to come back and do this particular one. Okay, so that's all there is to copy and paste. And like I said, this will work anywhere that there is text to be copied. Okay, so as a review then, what we've learned so far is Control V, which is paste, and Control C, which is copy. Okay, so those two things are going to be very useful for you. And again, you can do that with a sentence. You can do it with a block of information, or you can even do that with just one word. Okay, so copy and paste, that's the shortcut for that. And now we will get into home and page up and page down. Okay, let's start with home. All right, the home key, when you're in a box where editing is happening, okay, and it can be a big box, it can be a little box, but in a box where you are editing, the home key, if let's say your cursor's at the end of that sentence, if you hit the home key, it will take you directly to the start of that line. Okay, so that's what the home key can do. So anywhere that you are, if you hit the home key, it takes you to the front of that particular line. Now, let's say you're way down here and you want to go to the very, very top. Again, you hold down the control key and you hit the home key. That will take you all the way to the very top of the editing box. Okay, so those two things can be extremely helpful for you. Okay, in the other end of that, let's say you're here and you want to change something at the end of the sentence, you hit end. End will take you to the end of that particular sentence. So if you wanted to change parents to, family, well, you can do that. Okay? On the other side, if you want to go to the very end of the editing box, you hold down the control key and you hit end. Okay, that will take you to the very end so that you can add more stuff. Okay? So that's what the difference between end and control end. End will take you to the end of the sentence. Control end will take you to the end of the box. Okay? Now, page up and page down will take you up. The page up will take you up 3/4 of a box. Okay? So if I hit the page up key, it takes me from the bottom down here 3/4 of a page up to there. Again, page up again, take you up another 3/4 of a page, etc. Page down does just the opposite. Takes you down 3/4 of a page. Okay, so that can be helpful. There is no other, there's not a control page up and a control page down. It's just page up, page down. Okay, it just helps you get through your notes without having to go one line at a time. Okay, so basically that's all there is to page up and page down. I wanted to show you that these, although you don't have a big thing, the same editing applies. End takes you to the end of the line. Home takes you to the front of the line. Control end takes you to the end of the box. Control home will take you to the front of the box. Page down takes you down 3/4 of a page. You see how it, even though there's only 5 lines, it didn't take me to the end. And same with the page up. Okay, so those are just 2 quick useful helps that you can use in your editing time. Okay, so what we've covered so far is copy and paste, the Control C and the Control V. We've talked about home and end, and the difference between that and control home and control end. And we've talked about page up and page down. And all these are going to make your editing a lot easier now that you know that these keystrokes are available to you and you don't have to keep grabbing the mouse and moving stuff around. Okay, so those are helpful. What I'm going to do right now is now go into alternate plus command and show you what that does. Okay, now let's talk about the alternate plus command keystroke combination. And this command structure is good for most, if not all, of the applications in the world that run under Windows. Okay. The way this works is if you look around like on here, there's a little underscore under certain letters in the boxes. Okay, even down here. Okay, and those are alternate plus command shortcuts. For instance, let's go down here where it says there's an under the N. So I hold down the ALT button, and that's called the alternate button, ALT, and then you hit the N key. Why didn't that work? Hold on. There. I don't know why it didn't work the first time. There it goes. Okay. So anytime you're in here and you see a letter with an underscore, so this one's a C. So if I hit alternate and C, I get the LDS fax. Okay. If I want to do media, underscore M. I mean alternate M. That's the media. Okay. If I want to add a new fact, then I do alternate A. Okay. And there's the fax, and I can add a new fact. Okay. So in anything that you do, well, where there is a underscore under a letter, if you hit the Alt button, hold down the alternate and hit that letter, that procedure will be implemented. So like in notes, if you hold down the alternate and hit E, you get the edit commands. Okay. If you hit alternate T, there's tools. Okay. So the alternate plus command is very helpful so that you don't have to keep grabbing for the mouse. And one of the most useful is the save note. You can hit alternate O, and it will save that note. And then in this case, alternate O will close. Okay? But anywhere then, see all these up here that have the underscore under a letter, like alternate W, turn on the, drop down the Windows help. Alternate H is the help function. Okay, and then all of these, see, all these even have another one. So once you hit the alternate E to get to here, you can use the alternate plus these. So I do E and then L, and I get that function. Okay, so that's what the alternate command is. And again, this doesn't work just here. That works on any Windows application, not a an internet browser. It may not work that way, but an application that actually runs under Windows, most likely, and I won't say always, but most likely will have an alternate command for a lot of the things that you can do, so that you don't have to keep grabbing your mouse. Okay, in review then, we've talked about the copy and paste, the home and the end, the control home and the control end, the page up and the page down, and the ever useful alternate plus command keys. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about today is the what's called true type fonts, and why that's important to us. And I'll show you an example. What I need to do at this point is give you hopefully a quick understanding about true type fonts and why they're important. But before I can do that, I need to give you a little history. For those of you who are old enough to remember typewriters, okay, the thing about typewriters is that whether you hit a big D or a little d or a big I or a little I, they all took the same amount of space on the paper. Okay, so you had a one-for-one correlation between the letter and a space. So a space, when you hit the space bar, took up the same amount of space on the paper as a D or an I or an L. And so everything was spaced exactly the same distance apart. When computers came along and editing started to be able to be done on computers, it was the same type of thing. You had a text font that was, for every letter you hit, uppercase, lowercase, and a space, they all took out the same amount of space. So you didn't have, it was just everything was spaced exactly the same. Around 1990, 1980, 1990s, in that time frame, people started coming out with what was called a true type font. Okay, what a true type font meant was that every letter takes up only as much space as necessary. Okay, so what that meant was, if you had a capital S versus a little s, okay, and you see an example right here. There's a capital S and there's a little s. This capital S will take up more space on the paper or in this editing box than the little s does. And the little I takes up almost no space. Okay? So with the invention of true type fonts, the spacing of letters became more condensed, therefore making it a little easier to read because your eyes didn't have to stretch so far to see everything. Okay? And it takes up less space in your editing box. The only problem with true type fonts is that if you're trying to line up text, it becomes harder because the space bar takes up what I call a half of a space. So if you're trying to replace this S with a space and keep the rest of this in the same position, you have to use two spaces to take up the same amount of space. Okay? Now you're saying, well, what difference does that make? Well, I'm going to show you a real live example. Okay? So in our editing, and we'll get into this a little later too, when you get information from the Social Security Death Index, gosh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. Okay, first we type in the Social Security number. Okay. Now, birth date and death date, they don't take up the same amount of space as far as the typing of the words. Okay, so I want to line up the birth date and the death date in a semi-straight line so they look accurate. So in order to do that, I have to put in five blanks here. Okay, and then here's his birth date, 11 December 30. Now you see the word date isn't lined up, so these aren't lined up. So in order to get these lined up, I had to bring this out 5, and I'll bring this in 3. Okay, now they're going to be lined up. And he died the 26th of March, 98. 26 March 1998. Oops. And then the death location, I always use this. 82% of the time it's accurate, but that's what I use there. Okay? So, in order to keep these lined up, I had to put a different number of spaces in to get to the same location on the line. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Now, go back down here. Let me show you something else about this. In some cases, especially in the Social Security Death Index, the death day is not always there. Okay, so remember I told you that it takes 2 spaces to fill up one letter. So if they don't put in the death date, okay, in order for March to end up under December, I have to add 2 spaces for each missing letter. So I have to do 2 for the 2 for the 2 and 2 for the 6, and now these get lined up. So just remember, if you're trying to line up information, it takes 2 spaces in all cases to put in to take the place of one typed real letter. Okay, so that just kind of gives you a heads up on how true type fonts work. Okay, so I think that's about all of the helpful hints I can provide at this time without boring you to death. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of do a quick review. Control-C is the copy, puts it onto the clipboard, and Control-V is the paste option. It takes the information off the clipboard and puts it in wherever your cursor's at. Okay, the Home key and the End key. The Home will take you to the beginning of the sentence. The Control Home key will take you to the top of the editing box. The end key will take you to the end of a sentence, and the control end will take you to the bottom of the editing box. Page up takes you up 3/4 of a page, and page down takes you down 3/4 of a page. We went over the alternate command structure. Any Windows application that has underscore under one letter in a box or a word usually means that if you hold down the alternate key and hit that letter, that command will be performed. Okay? And then lastly, we talked about true type fonts. There's a lot about that will be useful to you if you're trying to line up text. So those are the helpful hints I have that will get you started in the rest of the lessons, and you'll see me use those keystrokes quite often. And when we get into the next lesson, then you'll know that when things happen but you don't see the mouse move, I've been using the keyboard keystroke as opposed to the mouse, and that's how I'm getting things done. All right, so that was just a quick lesson. We'll get into the real meat of the stuff in the next video.